at least in Buffalo, are still doing the traditional stuff of like billboards, radio, commercials. It obviously works. So I think the shift is kind of humanizing lawyers now more so. I'm always on there trying to find the next video that I'm going to comment on, but it is easy to find them as opposed to...
Before we begin the podcast, I have a super simple ask for you. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would help us reach more business owners every single day. Thank you. Let's begin. All right, Blake, you are named one of America's top 100 personal injury attorneys. And you do a decent amount for yourself on TikTok. What makes marketing as an attorney different from other fields?
It's interesting because in preparing for today, I did a little bit of research on the history of legal marketing, and I didn't dig too deep into the weeds on it, but it seemed like it wasn't allowed until I think 1977, where I guess there was the Supreme Court case where they fought about it, and then it was allowed after that. So, and then I think what happened was each individual state put together all these rules that apply to marketing. And, it's nothing crazy, but I think I don't know if it was the delay from the start of when lawyers actually started doing it to when the marketing was allowed that kind of caused this lag in how attorneys advertise. Because it seems like a lot of attorneys, at least in Buffalo, are still doing the traditional stuff of like billboards, radio, commercials. And it obviously works because they're still doing it, but it seems like it works most effectively if you're throwing a lot of money at it and you're just really consistent with it. Where, I've only been out about 10 years, but I think our younger generation, I especially saw a shift during COVID where attorneys were more on TikTok and doing more entertaining, more lighthearted, informational content instead of the traditional, we're the best, we get millions of dollars for everybody, we're awesome, sort of, just cookie cutter commercials that people are doing. So, that was kind of a really long answer to your question, but sorry about that. But yeah.
I 100% agree. Like, people want to buy from people they like. And so just going on TikTok and being like, hey, like, this is what you can expect. You're not even really marketing. You're just providing value. And fundamentally, that's the core pillar of marketing.
Yeah, and it's so funny because there are a few big law firms around here that do personal injury stuff, and even they're kind of shifting to, they're still doing the billboards, they're still doing the TV and radio, but they're shifting to more onto social media and more lighthearted stuff. And it's funny too because I've even noticed it in, like when we're picking juries and stuff, and we ask them, the big thing that we're trying to get at is like, what are their biases, and even their biases towards attorneys. And a lot of the people are just like, we hate those commercials. We hate, I hate hearing the jingles and all that. So it's funny. It seems like a lot of people have a negative perception of attorneys from that. I don't know what it is. If it, I'm not really sure what the cause of it was, but it's, I think the shift is kind of humanizing lawyers now more so, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I feel like a lawyer's got a better rap for a hot minute. Just because, like, every time you came to one, it's like, there's one against you and there's one for you. And because you're more prone to see the negative, you just perpetually hate lawyers. Like, I'm curious what your thoughts on, like, what you're doing to make it more personal as well.
Yeah, it's, it's funny. I know that I sent you that Gary V video where he talks about, one video could change your life sort of thing. And really what started my posting on social media, which, I should say at the outset that I don't really have a big following on anything, but a good friend of mine, he's a chiropractor and he also is like a nicotine coach. He helps kids quit nicotine. And this was during COVID. I met him. And, that's another part of marketing that we do as attorneys is we'll try to network with doctors and try to develop relationships, because a lot of the times the people that see the doctors don't have attorneys. So to meet with them, meet with meet with a doctor that provides good care, that can also treat the patient well, document it well, and then refer people over to you. But he was like, "Hey man, I have a huge following on TikTok and on I think he had a big following. It might have been Instagram or something." And he said, there's a lot of organic reach on this platform, so you should give it a try. And it started in 2020 with more like the silly dancing stuff, where trying to go on the trends and just over obsessing on the views and all that stuff. And then it was funny because I came across this other lawyer that was doing like duets on stuff, where how I'm doing it, where I'll see a car accident and then I'm like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this case I'm handling, so let me just try to give a tidbit of information on it. And it's started to gain more traction from doing it that way. And I don't know if it was just the style or if I was just piggybacking on another video that had a ton of views, but yeah, it's that kind of got me on my journey of doing it. And then it's interesting because it seems like what I'm seeing is I'm not seeing a lot of brand new people who don't know or who never knew me that are coming to me with cases, but I'm noticing a lot of people on Facebook who maybe I went to high school with them, or maybe they were an acquaintance, that have more of an awareness of what I'm doing now just from the consistent posting. And then how they are, there's just more of an awareness that way. So I can't really quantify if it's working, but I think it's, and maybe you can add on to your perspective from your expertise, if there's like an intangible part of that like you can't measure it, but it's working.
Brand awareness is definitely a big thing. So the best way I put it is, if like there's someone that's going to come to you, they're going to come to you anyways, but they're already warm, if you will. So they trust you. So more of what you say sticks. That's the intangible piece, at least. I know your TikTok's pretty good. And so like,
Thank
what's
you.
your biggest numbers? What are you doing on there?
You know what? It's so funny, man. So I a couple years ago, so I only have like 2,000 followers, and then I think the most I've ever gotten on a video was, hold on, let's see. I think I pinned it. The most I ever got was like 871,000. But it's weird. So I don't know if it's because of violations or something, because it drives me nuts on that platform, because it's like you see the craziest crap and people doing the wildest things on there, but then you try to post like an educational piece that might have a car accident or something that might be offensive, and they take that down, but then they let all this other wild stuff up there stay up there. But now I'm only getting like 40 to 50 views on each video, so I don't know if that's a part of it or if it's just that platform. I heard from my one buddy that has a big following. He said now there's like more of an expectation that you're going to put out like really thought out, like good good production value content, instead of how it was in like 2020, where it was just the silly stuff, the quick silly things. But it's funny, I don't know if you've had that experience on TikTok, or I've noticed YouTube Shorts seems to be giving me a lot more organic reach and growth. Have you noticed that with either TikTok or YouTube Shorts?
Business owners, do you wish marketing wasn't so time consuming, wasn't such a hassle? Well, that's where DMR Media comes in. We take the stress and the time out of marketing. We generate you clients through the funnel we've used on over 110 different business websites. Our goal, to keep marketing simple. If you want to take back your time and stop the chaos of marketing, check out dmrmedia.org or check the link in my bio.
Not really. But the other thing is, I'm very business specific. So people who tend to find my content interesting aren't going to be found on those platforms. And so I do really well on LinkedIn, but that's about it. Like LinkedIn and then long form on YouTube, that's really where I do well. But for you, since you're more general, I'd bet you do really well on TikTok, Instagram, that sort of stuff. The thing I will say is content's becoming more quality over quantity. And so you can tell when my videos are heavily edited versus when they're not. Like, you could look into something like Opus Pro. Have you seen Opus Pro?
No, no, no. What is that?
Look it up. So it essentially does editing for you. It's literally just the captions and maybe some B-roll. But I know the first little bit is free and it's like $40 a month. It's 100% worth. It's what I use to clip a lot of my videos.
Yeah, and that's a big challenge because basically what and it's funny that you said the quantity over or that it's more quality over quantity now because what I try to do is I try to do like 3 videos a day, and I feel like I'm always doing them towards the end of the day when I'm trying to get out of the office and get home, and so not that I'm rushing through it, but I'll basically, and this also seems to feed my social media addiction where like I'm always on there trying to find the next video that I'm gonna comment on, but it is easy to find them as opposed to just coming up with like a purely unique thing for every video. But yeah, I'm definitely noticing that it's not, yeah, it does seem to be more quality, and I don't know if because I heard that the TikTok platform added the studio part of it where it's you can be more involved in editing the videos. But yeah, I'm just not very good with that, with editing or with any of that stuff. So yeah, if I could jump on that app where it kind of does it for you quickly, that would be great, because that's kind of like always what I'm doing, because it's hard to I should make more time to make the content, you know what I mean, to make it better.
You might even benefit like Upwork and Fiverr. You can find an editor relatively cheap, like 10, $20 a video. So
Yeah, and it's fun.
Go ahead.
Have you seen those I've seen a couple ads where there are attorneys that like work with these companies that will produce all their videos. Have you had any experience with that? Or
Yeah, I've actually had a few on the podcast. Last week we had Maddie Bame. I don't even know how to pronounce her last name, but I had her on, and her essential thing is that for companies, that's her bread and butter, and they do really well if they know what they're doing. So the problem is you have to find a company that's quality, and I try to only have people that I know are good on the podcast, but it's hard. Like if you're going to go to someone, the people that I know well are Alex Sheardon, Maddie, and then Justin Flako. Yeah.
yeah, and and I think it's important too, which I'm sure that all of these companies probably know the rules that apply to the marketing probably better than the attorneys, because it's funny because I was trying to look at some of the rules to review them and preparing for today, and it seems like they are kind of confusing because they define an ad in kind of a confusing way. So it's like, what is an ad? And then, if it's an ad, then the rules apply. And it's, it seems like the main requirements are just okay, you can't be deceptive or dishonest. Okay. That's obvious. And then it seems like you need to have the office address and phone number and then have attorney advertising somewhere on it. And, but yeah. And then I think if the other big thing was like if you're putting out, like if you're advertising that you got some sort of a settlement or some sort of a big result, you have to put somewhere that doesn't guarantee that in your case you're going to get the same result, sort of thing, which I get. But it's funny, from your experiences, are there, because I was initially thinking, do these rules only apply strictly to attorneys, to attorney marketing? Or from your experience, like in all marketing, are there strict rules that apply, or are there certain industries where it's a lot looser from your experience?
It's based on industry. So attorneys is definitely one of the more strict ones. I'm working with a law firm in the Rapids and Marshfield in Wisconsin. And like, it's basically impossible to properly advertise any sort of law firm. Like, another good one is real estate. That one's really hard. So a good example of this is on a real estate website, you have what's called a real estate agent, you have a brokerage. You have to have this specific brokerage or they can get fined upwards of $10,000. So I had one agent where he put the Keller Williams logo, but not the Keller Williams Stevens Point logo. it's like they're the same thing, but one says Stevens Point under it. It's like there are certain things in each industry that's just a headache. Like one of the good examples is for lawyers and attorneys. You can't say you're a quote expert in something.
Yes.
Why? I have no idea. Just like if you have 10 years experience, I hope you're an expert.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny too because it seems like a lot of people will put like if they do real estate, they'll put real estate attorneys, or if they do injury, they'll put injury attorneys. So like that's the one thing that confused me is like, well, you're basically saying that you're a specialist without saying you're a specialist if you say that that's like what you do all the time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I think that, and then do you have any experience in like the financial advising sort of? It seems like they're pretty strict with that stuff too.
I was
With the
going to work
financial,
with one, but here's the problem. They were so strict, we couldn't really do anything. Like they're even worse. So here's the really dumb one for financial. You can talk about something, but you can't talk about how it applies to the client. So
it's more of like a general.
Yeah. So I can be like, so this is what the 401k does. This is how it works. But I can't be like, this is Billy. This is an example. Or I can't be like, this is how it could possibly help you. Like you can literally just describe the product. And so there's basically no point in marketing because what are you going to tell people? Like, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it's like to some extent I understand, but then to the other extent, it's like why, you know, people are just trying to be creative and stuff. But it's funny because I think, in a way, I think it's making people be more creative, and it's funny because, and I don't know if maybe it's just you know just because I've been out now for 10 years, but I'm definitely noticing a lot of people that a lot more younger people that are I'm seeing more and more on cases, and it seems like they're a lot more open to this new sort of fun entertainment style of advertising than the older attorneys, which is nice. So I don't know if it's just gonna if it'll just eventually shift with all the other industries. But yeah, it's definitely good to see because I think yeah, I just think the old stuff. I mean, I like I said, obviously it's effective if people are doing it, but I think you have to spend a lot of money on billboards and putting your face on the side of buses and stuff to see a huge benefit from it.
Yeah, old style marketing is definitely slowly going away. Like the one thing that's been working really well for my clients is search engine optimization because you already have intent. I mean, that's a good example. The one thing I will say is, especially for lawyers, I'll just say lawyers in general and attorneys, is education content is really, really good because marketing fundamentally is just attention. That's all it is. And so just giving away free value, you're not advertising technically, and you can just get a ton of views because people like it and you're not trying to sell them something.
Yes. Yeah, because you know that's definitely something that you know, like whenever someone comes off as being really selly, you just get kind of skeptical. And I'm sure you've seen it probably millions of times on LinkedIn where you get those DMs that you know. And it's one thing if it's like a genuine DM, but it's another where you can tell like someone just copy and pasted from the last person and they have the wrong name in there. It's like, come on, you know, it's like. And I mean, I totally get it and I respect it 100%. But yeah, I feel like people are always, and I guess rightfully so, skeptical if they come off as like, oh yeah, I'm just trying to sell you on something instead of like, no, I'm going to provide you this information if you need me, I'm here, sort of thing, you know. And the one thing was that, and I think we talked about it on the phone, but that one guy, Nick Bear, he has that fitness company, and he posts a lot, and his content is really really good. And it's funny because you're watching it more for the entertainment, you know, information value of it. But it's like, man, you know, like this guy he's working out, he's really into fitness, and he's using his own supplements like throughout his video and explaining like why he uses them and how it helps him. And it's like, oh wait, that's an it. You know, he's advertising, but you don't realize it, and you're just entertained by the content, you know. And I know because you're big into fitness too, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I see that a lot. It's really funny. Like I think my favorite is product marketing. So
Oh yeah.
specific, I'm in the powerlifting scene, and in the powerlifting scene, there's different brands, and what they'll do is they'll take the top powerlifters, and their advertising is just sending them gear because all of them are essentially accidentally advertising for them because every powerlifter posts on social media.
Yeah. When does the at what point do people, because it's funny because my buddy Frank that I or the Cairo that I brought up a bunch of times, he's a lot more, he's very strategic about this stuff, and he's funny because he asked me, um, he asked me, like, what's your goal, from posting? Do you want to just get more cases? Do you want to grow a big following that you could then do, promotional stuff on? Like, what's your ultimate goal? But like, from your experience, at what point do people, is there like a certain level of followers to where it attracts advertising and promotional stuff on with content, or is it just more the quality of it, and if people believe in it and want to, like,
Quality, I would say. And then the other thing, like, I don't work a lot with advertisers. I don't work at all with advertisers. But I would say, from what I can tell, it seems to be that they care more about upward growth, than they do about actual following size. Like, I've seen guys with 5,000 followers get adverts. Like, you don't need to be big. My question for you is, what is your goal with social media then?
Ultimately, I would like to use it as a form to get cases, and and then I think that's the ultimate goal, is just to advertise my services and get referrals and bring awareness to what I'm doing. And I also, I enjoy that type of stuff. I was never into acting or anything, but my sister is in, she went to Pace in New York, and she's big into the acting thing. But I've always been kind of interested in entertainment and stuff like that. So it's kind of like and this, this could sound really cliche, but it's like a creative sort of outlet in a certain way. And yeah. So I'm having fun, but also I would love to get it to a point where people are direct messaging me for help on stuff, because I know there have been other attorneys that talk about how, oh yeah, I have someone DM me on TikTok, and maybe it was from another state, but you're able to refer it out and develop relationships that way. So yeah, that's kind of the goal that I have.
Are you a business owner looking to simplify marketing? Make your marketing consistent? It makes sense. Marketing can be a hassle, a headache. That's why I have a gift for you and a tool to make your marketing simple. A sheet with 15 questions to find out who you need to target, who you are in relation to your client, and really iron out what your clients want. It's a simple way to create unity within your marketing and understand where you want to go. If you're ready to simplify your marketing, go to dmrmedia.org/#gift or check the link in my bio.
Okay. Yeah. I can definitely see that. Referring people is one of the best things ever, especially from social media. It's so rewarding. I'm curious, in an ideal world, if you had, let's say, 1 million followers and you were given advertisements, you could do education instead of continuing to be an attorney, what would you do?
Oh, if I had that option of doing educational route as opposed to lawyering,
Yeah.
like, if I would, yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. I would love to. Yeah, I mean, that's a interesting question. Yeah, I mean, I would love to continue working on cases, but maybe being more selective and not having to handle, because it's funny with our cases, because like, we have a lot of them, but they usually take 1 to 5 years sometimes to settle. So you have to have a lot of them to kind of keep the wheels turning. So I would love to be able to be more selective on the cases that we take, and be more picky. And not to say that people with a minor injury have just as much right to good representation as someone with a serious injury, but I would love to be more selective, but then, like you mentioned, it would be fun to put on presentations or just do more in that realm educationally.
Yeah, education is really nice too because it's fulfilling. Do you know there's a the divorce lawyer who has a really big following.
Oh yeah, is it he's that guy, he wears like a three-piece suit all the time, and he's got the vest on, and he talks about these big names or these really wealthy people that he represents.
Yeah, and he has got a ton of tats.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know
Oh
his
my
name
god,
though.
man. Yeah, oh my god, that area of the law is challenging. I did that for a couple years. You know, some people, the divorce stuff, some people just, I think if you do that, you have to have a thick skin and not take things personally, because it just gets nasty, and it's hard to see, and it's very very high stress, and you're dealing with people at the worst point in their lives. So I have so much respect for the attorneys that do that on a regular basis, because it's just so stressful.
Yeah, I've seen people on both sides of my family that like they got divorced and then you're like it cleans both of them out monetarily and mentally and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah, and it's, you know what, man, it's crazy too, because when I was doing that type of stuff, I didn't have kids, and I have a 3 year old and a 8 month old now, and it's funny because I feel like I would probably feel worse now doing it, just having kids and kind of knowing the, because having the experience and just imagining them going through the process. And yeah, and there are some attorneys that were very, their styles were being super aggressive, and then other ones that were more sensitive and had more empathy. But yeah, I think yeah, it's just such a crazy process. And it's funny, I wish that, and this goes for injury too, that more people understood the cost benefit analysis of like taking each step that they want to take, because like you said, in the divorce case, it's like you could go to trial, or you could try to come to an agreement, and maybe you don't get everything you want, but then if you go to trial, you're putting it in the hands of a judge, or if it's a personal injury case, in the hands of a jury, and you don't know what they're going to do, and you're just kind of putting your fate in their hands, instead of getting super reasonable and doing a cost benefit analysis sort of thing.
yeah." I also want to talk your bread and butter is personal injury. So, that being said, when it comes to people tend to do dumb stuff, especially when it comes to like marketing, publicity, whatever. What should people avoid when they're doing stunts, stupid things from what you've seen? Like what?
Oh, from and just people in general just doing random stuff, or people, or attorneys marketing.
No. Just people doing dumb stuff. Because
Oh,
I've seen like jumping out of a helicopter from Red Bull,
yeah,
streaking at the Super Bowl. Like,
yeah,
what should people avoid?
yeah. Well, the one thing that I could say is definitely don't do anything crazy on an airplane, because I had one case where this person was, I won't get into the details, but he did something not great on an airplane, and he was drunk, and so he was initially charged with, from like local authorities, but then it turned out it turned into a federal case, and in federal court they're a lot more strict on plea deals and stuff like that. So if it was a state court thing, the person didn't have a prior record or anything, so they probably would have just reduced it way, way down. Because, it was bad, but it wasn't anything major. Well, I don't want to say it wasn't anything major, but it wasn't like it wasn't a murder case. And it was just, yeah, if you're in federal court, they're a lot more strict, and you're likely coming out of there with a criminal record instead of like a reduced plea to a misdemeanor violation. That, and then and I'm guilty of it too, but I would say, being on your phone and distracted driving, we see a lot of um, car accidents that happen from that. And trip and falls, I handle a lot of trip and fall cases and slip and fall cases, and I think just being, being aware of your surroundings. And I guess that goes back to the phone too, because, and like I said, I'm probably the world's worst offender. I'm always on my phone. So, just keeping an eye out for things. And let me think if there's anything else. And I guess wearing a helmet if you're riding a motorcycle or a bike, because we've seen really serious injuries from people on bikes or motorcycles that weren't wearing helmets, and even the ones that were, very serious injuries.
You have to be careful on motorcycles and bikes.
Do you ride a motorcycle?
I do. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What's it like? Is it? I mean, it seems like it's a lot of fun.
It's fun, but it's scary. Like here's the big problem with motorcycles. You know that one idiot driver who's not looking at their phone is going to turn right and not see you or come into your lane. So you have to be very, very cautious.
Yeah. I saw this one video actually recently where the guy was talking about. He said lane. How did he phrase it? He said
lane splitting.
Yeah, he said there's a difference between like lane splitting and lane cleansing or something. Mm-hmm. Where he said like it's safer which I never thought of this. He was like, if you're on a motorcycle in bumper to bumper traffic, it's really dangerous to be sitting there because a lot of the times people can't see your taillights, right? Because it almost just looks like it blends in with the car ahead. So the guy was saying that it's safer to kind of go in between and kind of get ahead of everybody. Mm-hmm. Have you experienced that too?
Yeah. So here's the problem with that. That's illegal in most states. Like you can get pulled over for that.
Yeah.
But I would much rather get a ticket than die. Like, so it's one of those, motorcycles are just very dangerous in general. And you also get idiot kids who are like, let's go 140 down the freeway. And you're like, it's not a good idea.
Yeah. Like, and the interesting thing about car accidents involving motorcycles or motorcycle accidents in New York is that, okay, ordinarily if in New York State there's no fault insurance, which means that regardless of who was at fault, the insurance that was on the vehicle that you were driving will cover your basic medical, your transportation expenses, lost wages. There's a number of other things, but that's regardless of fault. But then the at-fault party, the party that's not at fault has the opportunity to go after the at-fault party for more above and beyond that just basic coverage that everybody gets. But on motorcycles, there's not any of that. So it's for some odd reason. I don't know why that is, but yeah, it makes it a challenge a lot of the times for people in motorcycle accidents to get their care covered, where if they were in a vehicle, they would otherwise have that other avenue of coverage,
That seems backwards because it feels like motorcycles, like incidents are going to be worse.
Yeah. And it's, what kind of helmet do you wear? Do you have like the full on, like the full one?
Yeah.
With the shield?
I don't even have the brake point, the one with brake points. I just have a flat helmet. Like you can see it in the background.
Oh yeah. Yeah, dude, that's the way to do it, man, because we've had some cases where, how like they have those helmets that they're like more decorative, where people that ride the Harleys and stuff, where, people that have worn those helmets have gotten really seriously injured. Now, is that type of helmet, is it pretty effective in preventing injuries that you would otherwise get if you were either not wearing one or wearing just the more decorative ones that are kind of the half helmets, or does it really kind of depend on what type of situation that you're in? Yeah.
To be completely honest, the one thing that is important though is leathers, like padded stuff, because I've seen a couple guys getting like not major but minor crashes where their bike and then they slide, and if you slide without leathers, you will not have skin on half of your body. Concrete destroys. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I've seen that on social media where these people are sliding and they're just like screaming, where it looks like they're fine, but yeah, I mean that's and it's it's funny that you said that too, because I always notice people where it could be like 90 out and they're on the bike and they're wearing like the full blown suit, but yeah, that's got to be so fun though. It just looks like it's awesome to ride. And is it therapeutic in a way too? Because you're just kind of, I mean, I'm sure like it's not like driving a car where you could like pull your phone out. You know, you probably have to fully focus on what you're doing.
Well, I always have like a holder. So I'll put my phone up and I pull up Spotify and you just listen to music. It's super therapeutic. It's so great.
Do you listen to a ton of podcasts?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot. Do you listen to podcasts? I'm assuming you do.
Yeah, I'm pretty big in running. Like I don't do anything crazy, but I run pretty consistently, and it was fun. And I got Spotify. I sound really old, but I was initially just putting it on YouTube and just YouTubing podcasts when I was running, and then it kept cutting out. And someone's like, "Oh no, man! Like Spotify it's a free download, but there's just ads." And I'm like, "Okay." So then I'll just put on Joe Rogan or something else, or just something like that, and it's crazy how you can learn so much now from podcasts. And what and it's because my drive to work is only, and I'm complaining about like a 40-minute drive to work, where I know like a lot of people have like much longer, but I actually like it in a way because you can just learn a ton of stuff from just like listening to things. And where I feel like back in the day it was just dead time.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Do you listen to Chris Williamson at all?
No.
Well, look him up. Modern Wisdom. Dude, so good. It's probably my favorite.
Wait a minute. I think is he does he have a YouTube channel too? I think I might have seen him on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, his bread and butter is YouTube.
Yeah, it's it's crazy. It seems like if you have a big following on, which platform from your experience has the most opportunity for making money based on following? Would you say, is it YouTube, or does it like if you have like 1 million subscribers on YouTube versus TikTok, is it?
I'm not a great guy to ask, but my guess would be YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, you see some of these people have like, there's like 80 million views on a video. It's like, holy crap, how did that even? It's wild. But a lot of, and then I would assume a lot of these people just do it. They're just doing it full time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's crazy.
Like Darren Lee, for example. If you look him up, he's got like 75K, but he makes good money on YouTube.
Oh yeah, who's that other guy, that weightlifter dude that's hilarious, that young kid? What's his name? Everyone loves him. He's
Will Tennyson.
Gosh, why can't I? No, he wears the hat. He's got the long hair.
Sam Sulek.
Yeah, and he does the long form content.
Mm-hmm. Sir.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of like just being you, and just because I mean that kid clearly was just being himself and just putting the content out there, and it just blew up. Is he still pretty big? For a period I was seeing him a ton come up on my TikTok, but I haven't really seen him in a while.
He's there. He's just like, he's not at his peak, if that makes sense. Actually, let's see. Yeah, he still pulls good views. Like a couple 100,000 per video.
Did you ever were you big into like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler and all that kind of stuff, or you were more into the powerlifting scene?
I'm more in the powerlifting scene. Most of the guys so I look at, you've probably never even heard of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like the biggest one is John Hack. I think he has like 80,000 on Instagram. Like he's.
Yeah, I follow that one guy. Oh my god, I forget his name. He's like the world's strongest man.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like 400 pounds. It's crazy. Like, and then he's just lifting all this weight, and I mean, that can't be healthy. Being at that, I don't know. Being at, like, maybe I'm wrong, but like being that heavy, but
I'm 210 and I can feel it.
Yeah. How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. So you're tall. It was weird because I played. I didn't play. It wasn't NCAA hockey, but I played hockey in college, and I'm only 5'7", so I went through a period where I was like lifting a lot and doing a lot of sports specific training, and I think the heaviest I got was like 205. But yeah, I mean, even at that weight, I would go to the doctors and like, and I felt good, but they would say, oh, like you're overweight for your, because I feel like a lot of the doctors just like don't understand. It's like, no, I'm lifting and I'm eating a ton, so therefore that's why, you know,
Yeah, I think
therefore,
people don't understand what it's like to be this heavy. Like for me, my maintenance is 3,100 calories. That's twice the average female. Twice. Like, I basically, like, can I gain weight? Yes, but I'm like stuffing my mouth to gain weight. So it's difficult.
yeah, and then it's crazy too how did you play sports too when you were in high school and stuff?
So the short answer is no, but I ran. I
Oh
was a
yeah.
runner.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's nuts because I noticed like after I was done with college and I went to law school, I gained it. It wasn't a ton of weight, but it was definitely like significant weight because you know how it is like you're in the pattern and routine of eating a ton, and then but like you're not, like I mean I was still training, but you don't have that like the running or the hockey that where you burn all those extra calories, you know.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, I
Um,
do cardio every day to counteract that.
what do you
That's how I
usually
go ahead.
do? You run or
I just do the treadmill and then I do incline at like light jog.
yeah? Do you like the stairmaster or the
So
steps?
there isn't really a stairmaster that's convenient for me. I'd
Yeah.
have to drive a half hour, and I'm not driving a half hour to get a stairmaster.
Those,
All right, man.
yeah, those are so expensive.
They are. They are. Any gym equipment is. Any gym equipment is. I'll tell you what. I don't have anything else for you. Where do you want to send people?
Oh, yeah, I guess my TikTok, Blake Zaccanino, ZACCAGNINO. Yeah, you could send him there. That'd be great.
Okay. Perfect. I'll link it as well in the description.
Okay.